Okay, I think it's time to try and put this thing back together. So while I was away doing absolutely nothing but twiddling my thumbs, I finally spent some time and got these 4 elements drilled for the new fasteners. Kind of took the previous 2 out and just set them aside because the bending over the tab things just doesn't really work. These have got the ends snapped or cut off the Dremels so that they don't contact the bottom of the frame. And I'm going to carefully start installing them back into here, starting at the end where we have this contact, because that's my reference point for the holes. So the idea is, should be able to, and you gotta drop these things in from the inside. Set that about there, and yeah, that looks like it'll line up okay. Probably speed the footage of this up, because this is gonna take a little bit of time. Getting these little fellas in there is gonna be just a little bit tricky. Okay, so it occurs to me that looking at this mechanism here, the bar at the front, I don't know if you can just see that. Whoops, don't mean to nudge it so much. But this guy right here, it's very close to this arm. I'm going to wager that it was probably a little closer to the middle. Well, maybe it was that close. I don't quite remember. But to me, that seems a little iffy. I might feel better putting some red insulating varnish on that later, or possibly some heat shrink if I have the right diameter. Or actually, no. If I want to do that, this is going to get trapped. So let me take a look and see if I actually do have that. I don't know if I can make it. Well, I might be able to, maybe. Because I'm compressing it a little bit. And frost is good. Let's see. I'm sure I just I keep my fingers very easy. That actually looks pretty good. So far, so good. Middle ones are staying put, and now all we have to do is put the last one on and see how the holes line up. My hope is that once this end cap, whoopsie, inside, this last one is on, the ends will get pulled upwards just a little bit. And it looks like that may actually happen. So get that tucked in there. Yeah. Okay, yes, so these will get pulled upward just a bit, and cool. However, I do have to put the screw heads on the inside. And oddly, there's only the outer ones here actually get these little toothed washers on the connection pieces. I was surprised the internal ones didn't do that, but I mean, they're connected to a giant barrel nut. Maybe they were just assuming that it would all hold together. Let's make sure these bars aren't rotated towards the top. One thing I'll point out, when I drilled these... Whoops, nope, other way. When I drilled these elements here, the mica sheet does not take too kindly to being blown through with the drill bit, so I drilled these from the mica down with a very small bit and then worked my way up, because you will snag this and rip it apart if you're not careful. Okay, the elements are in. Look at that. Okay, so there was a few flakes I knocked loose. And I need to make sure that we're not shorting out anywhere. That is the... oh. Okay, I forgot to bend down these guys right here. I had to bend down the ones on the opposite side because obviously they're way too close to the electrical connections, and I'm just now realizing I forgot to do that over here. Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm actually rather happy with that. It's like the elements in the middle do appear to be sitting up there, and they are spaced apart. Very nice. And I want to do one little check here and make sure we're not going to wind up shorting the absolute crap out of this. Okay, nothing there, nothing there. Let's check for continuity end to end. Good, cool, excellent. Oh, and just to make absolutely sure, make sure there's no chance of this finding a place to short. All right, looks like we're in the clear. Oh. Okay, that means the next thing that needs to happen is I need to reinstall these little fellas. Sorry, for a second I thought I wasn't even recording, and I was about to lose my mind. Now these little hooks were actually pretty corroded. I'm sure they were plated originally, so I stripped them with a deoxide. I rust removing bath, and then I cold blued them because that was all I had laying around that I figured would work to keep the oxides away. So we just aim very carefully and we drop these back in. And what's nice is that these hooks are actually part of the mechanism that holds the elements in place. The curved end, again if you can tell there, is actually touching this top bar and holding that in. This top bar, however, is not electrically connected to anything. However, on the opposite side now, I have to go down in here and I have to bend this back because they were originally held in place by just a little bit of a bend. I'm going to want to do this with 2 sets of pliers so I don't wind up putting too much force on it. Doesn't need much to hold it. About that much should be enough. And this should now, yeah. So that'll stay put. Alright, doesn't look too bad at all. Okay, with the elements in, now what I need to do is look at replacing the, oh, well yeah, we put this in. I feel like I'm missing something. This is all the parts I have left. I'm just trying to go through how I took everything apart. Oh, I know exactly what's missing. Hold on a moment. I was missing these. The little plates that actually, you know, capture everything. There was some, I know this stuff is out there somewhere. Well, duh. Of course it is, right here. Oh, and I neglected to get something very important. I was going to get some circlips to replace these. I need to buy a circlip assortment. I'm sure I can get one of those at Hazard Fraught. Okay. So before I put the timer mechanism back in, I'm going to flip this over because I need to put in something else. We have the damper assembly, we have this spring, and of course we have this little guy. This is supposed to attach. So I'm seeing the screw holes are over here, so that means it has to come out right here. Oh no, but the lever protrudes into the inside of the mechanism, so technically it sits there. And this has got, I just realized, an oval-shaped head, so kind of like the points on a distributor, you should be able to adjust it a little bit. And I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these screw. Really? Are these the ones intended for that? Because these are abysmally short. Yeah, I guess they are. Okay, so the battery decided, actually no, not the battery, the SD card decided that it was full despite it supposedly being empty. I don't know what it is with GoPro's software. It keeps lying to me about how much is actually being used on the SD card. Either way, little springy thingy is back in here. But what I'm curious about is how long it takes for that to move over to contact the lift mechanism, the timer mechanism. I'm going to try heating it up and seeing if it'll budge. Look at it go. I'll be damned. That only took a few seconds. And looks like it'll stay there. It's cooling off now. Yeah, that does in fact work as advertised. Very cool. It's a simple mechanism, but I love seeing stuff like that in action. Okay, so these are captured. I have the original thingies, but these just kind of suck, so we're not going to be using them. That drops back down. Now I need to get this little guy reintroduced with its cover. This very flimsy stamped tin or aluminum cover. So you take off the knob here at the end. Very carefully. These are nice rolling along with that. And this just slides over everything. This is an arbor, puts back on proper. This end snaps over into this shaft here, and this end actually needs to have these two. These two will not have to be. Okay, so that's my tool. That's why I have it. Space for that to slip underneath on either side. Just a little ding up, but that happens. Okay, mechanism's all buttoned up again. Cool. Oh, right, the damper assembly. Since I have that, I kind of need to put this back in place. This just sits down here in the end of that. Hooks through this, but now I'm trying to remember, where does this spring catch to? Okay. Yeah, it catches to one of these, which means that this has to go through this way. So we'll get this through here first, like that. And bear down on that, okay. This grabs a hold of that, and we'll bring it up here to the third notch for a decent amount of oomph. So that'll give me maximum toast ejection. See, it's not super sudden. That little damper in there is it's got a little bit of a bounce towards the end, so it's not killing the top mount here over and over again. It's not bashing into it. It's softening the blow like a shock absorber, which is good. Okay, so that's okay. I can put the little circlip doodles on last. Now we can set this mechanism back into its home here. This one has to be down the ways before it actually puts it right off B. That's got to be right off there on the outside of it. And then it is held in place by this little bracket. I also get the block outside. Set that here. And let me slide around. Okay. So if I take the knob here, temporarily reattach it. And to be totally fair, I don't eat toast, so this thing is going to get predominantly used for making Eggo waffles. So I'm not going to have to rely on the dark setting too much. But I do want to see how well it functions. Okay. think what we can do is we can lay it down here like this. Okay, cool. Very cool. Now, since we have all that... You, get out of here. All of that dealt with, the last thing that I really have to mess with outside of replacing these is the electricals. Yes, I know that's asbestos. I don't lick my fingers after I work on stuff like this, don't worry. Usually. I don't know how well it tastes. But there are... Oh, bugger. Okay, I just remembered there are one of these 4 connections on the side here. One of them each goes to these terminals on the back. Those guys there. One of them wraps around the side. And one of them just kind of comes around the corner and goes over to here, which I believe is what this one was for. So that's actually supposed to attach to this terminal here. And then this abnormally long one here is supposed to go around through this hole and then attach to this lug right here. Okay, that connection's in place. Now, where I really regret not taking pictures is this part right here, because I have all of this. See this? All these cupped pieces, all that. And I cannot remember how this is supposed to go get together. Seriously, I don't. I genuinely do not remember how this is attached. Because I only have one of these. And I feel like that's important. Obviously, I have the connections coming off the line cord, which is in fantastic condition, so I'm not going to throw that away. And I've got what I'm assuming are sort of crush washer to keep everything sandwiched together nicely. But why I only have one of these things, This is the other part that just kind of seems sketchy to me, is the way this whole thing is insulated with the mica sheets. I made sure that they are still insulated and everything, but it doesn't sit perfectly with me. Okay, and then we have this piece, which just wraps around the corner and does whatever, so... So the assumption then is these little guys are caps for the wiring. So we place one of these over here, the nut goes on that, and it sandwiches the whole assembly, and yeah, more or less like that. And this is actually permanently looped, well, not permanently, but they stitched it really nicely, and I'm not going to take all that apart. But the idea now is that once we take this, and this is a non-polarized cord, so no such thing as hot neutral as far as this device is concerned. We just have to Okay. This just kind of goes. Sits there like that, so that'll keep it from going anywhere. And once again, let's do a shorts check, make sure the insulation held up. Okay. Good. Pardon me. All right. No shorts. Wonderful. And now we get to see how many amps the circuit in this room can take. So put that there, and I suppose I should probably do this with the handle attached instead of touching everything bare metal. Safety third, after all. I'm going to put it on upside down. Okay, the question is, can I actually... Yes, I can. Okay, well, I already started the timer, so that kind of kills the fun, doesn't it? Alright, so no sparks. Alright, here we go. Oh, damn, it's not making contact. Well, that was anticlimactic as all hell. Okay, so... yeah, so the contact here is apparently bent. And is not touching... Yeah, just... Come on up there. Not, yeah, it's not touching both pieces like it should. It looks like I should be able to manhandle it a little bit in order to get it to touch correctly. Okay. That looks like it'll work. But again, I'm just gonna cheat and push that up there. All right. Yes. Ooh. I'm having to hold it down because the mechanism's already at the top. I'm hearing the elements come alive. They are not glowing yet. But I can smell it. Oh yeah, like it's hot. I would say that's probably... Oh, I didn't get to catch the latch again, and that's why. Okay, either way, we know that the heating element works. There are no shorts. Fantastic. And that should do pretty well. Although, one thing I think I am going to do, just for my own peace of mind, is I will put some insulating varnish underneath those two nuts. Just, yeah, it'd make me feel a little better. Always a good idea to have some of these cheap paintbrush assortments from like Hobby Lobby or wherever. And this stuff is somewhat watery, but it does tack up quite nicely. And you don't need an absolute ton of it. You know, it works pretty well. Actually applies not that different from, I imagine, like nail polish remover. So I'm just going to get that in there, and that should, well, it's mostly just to make me feel better. Okay. Perfect. Which means the only things left to do now are to button this thing up and take it into the kitchen. And sacrifice a piece of bread for science, naturally. Oh. Well, I'll temporarily close it up. I promise I'll buy the circlips and actually finish it instead of leaving it semi-incomplete like this. Here. This guy, and oh, I should probably get, let's see, so the bottom actually attaches to this. And the base plate here, this has its own pair of screws, and I'm trying to remember where they are. Because unfortunately, I only have 2 of the screws that are actually for attaching the housing to the chassis. For some reason. That was how I got it. No other hardware laying over here. Nothing else laying on the table. Wow. Oh. Oops. That's an additional washer for the electrical bits there. I really, really want to take all that apart again. For right now, no. Everything in here is pretty well put together and clamped, so it's not going to go anywhere. So this is supposed to... I had a bit of a difficult time getting this off. Just because of how the mechanism and the top of this thing... Wait, did I? No, I think I did it this way. Oop. My apologies. No, I would have had to have done it from the front. Put that on there like that. This only needs to go over the corners of the mechanism. There we go. And That should just... It should just drop into there like that. And I should be able to flip this over. See how everything sits. Okay. So this... Oh, I remember. These two screws that I have are in fact for this. There were no screws holding the bakelite bottom to the rest of the unit. That's why. They were missing. So... Okay. The crumb tray is just going to sit like that. These two screws just drop through and they find home about there-ish. Okay. So now that just pops open. We get access to the crumb tray, or the interior of that. So yeah, this is going to flop around a little bit without the proper hardware, so I'm going to have to go into the store to figure it out. I would imagine it's probably, looking at most of these screws, either 440 or 632. I would hope, at least. I need a smaller screwdriver in order to get that cinched down. What do I have? Oh, that was damaged. Has this one got a thinner blade? It does. Look at that. Okay, darker, lighter. Wonderful. Okay, take it into the kitchen and grab a slice of bread. Okay, welcome to the kitchen. Got the little booger up here on the 55 GE stovetop, and before I brought it in here, I actually did run to the hardware store and I put in the E-clips that I said I would lock everything down, so that's taken care of. And I also, this isn't the first time I've tried this, I discovered that the spring that holds down this mechanism here that latches it at the bottom was too weak, and I couldn't actually get it to latch when I pressed it all the way down, so I had to go back in there, and I basically wound it around itself one more time to give it a little extra oomph, and it should latch pretty decently now. The only thing I don't have are screws to attach the body of the toaster to the Bakelite base. They appear to be a self-tapping sheet metal screw, and I actually don't have anything that small on me right now, but for the while being, that's fine. So we'll go ahead and plug this in. Got it set on maximum lightness, and I'm going to sacrifice some sourdough bread here that turned out to be not that great for sandwiches. So. Okay, let's see how it did. Well, they're warm. I'll give them that. Not really brown at all. Wasn't either, but they are definitely a little crispier than they were before. So, at the very least, it does work. Now, if I crank it all the way down, maybe halfway on the darkness, let's see what that gets us. Now, one adjustment I did make to this while it was on the bench the second time around was the little bimetallic strip in the bottom that is supposed to contact the timer mechanism and trip the little lever to speed the thing up. Wasn't actually able to move all the way over and make contact with it. The screw stop inside there was preventing it from getting anywhere near, so I backed that down as far as I could to hopefully get it to make contact, but honestly it doesn't seem like it has the capability of getting that far. But, yeah, here's hoping. Turn the lights up, I could probably have you see the elements glowing. Seems pretty good to me. Okay, so yes, we did definitely get a difference on those. Although I am noticing that these tend to cook the top a lot better than they do the bottom. Which is curious. I wonder if that has to do with the way the wire on the elements is arranged. I noticed that the pattern tends to get tighter towards the top of the element. Spacing's kind of weird. The other thing I want to check, I've confirmed that yes, this toaster does in fact work. And of course this is after 2 tries, so I'm sure if I left it on the medium setting and only did it once, and since I'm only going to be really using it for waffles, I'm sure it'll work okay. But I want to see, and this thing is damn hot, I want to see if I flip the set over and take a look inside the crumb tray before it cools down all the way, I should be able to see if that little piece of little spring has moved to make contact with the timer or not. And it is unplugged, so no risk of damage there. And okay, let's see if I can make this a little more obvious. So if we look directly over, and my shadow is going to get in the way. Look directly over the top there. That little guy right there is our spring. That rod right there is what is actually controlling the timer mechanism. So if I draw this back a little bit, oh, it is actually bearing on it. Okay, you can see that right there. It's putting pressure on it, just a little bit, not a ton. And the stop nut that I was dealing with is up there, and it's not as far in as it could possibly go. In fact, it was set up so that it wouldn't make contact at all. But this is actually touching that. Now, how far out it can go a little more, but it is working, which is cool. And if I wanted to, I can go back in there, I can unscrew that down even more, and it'll probably push it all the way over. So very cool. That is actually working the way it is supposed to. Alright, well, I'd say that about does it. I now have another piece for my retro kitchen completed. Hopefully I didn't bore the absolute crap out of everyone with this. I will be getting back to the television in the next episode. So thanks for watching.